Hey everybody, this is your brother, Narada, Michael Walden. Welcome to All In, my podcast where we break down music, life, and love, interviews, and conversations. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, this is your brother, Narada, Michael Walden. And I am still blown away by this beautiful, beautiful book. It says Narada Michael Walden, Drumming Spirit and Music by Aubrey Dale. Aubrey Dale is someone I met on YouTube playing the Cosmic Strut from the Mahavishnu Orchestra's second album I'm on, Visions of the Emerald Beyond. And I was taken that he could play that song, and as he was reading the parts, he actually transcribed the parts of Cosmic Strut and was reading it back, playing along. I was like, wow, this is unusual, because there's some tough parts in that song. And I got a hold of him, and then we actually transcribed more songs. So it's a full-on book with lots and lots of transcriptions in here of all kinds of music of Jeff Beck-led Boots and more Mahavishnu Orchestra and Weather Report and even the pops of How Will I Know with Whitney Houston and Freeway of Love with Aretha Franklin. I mean, it's just jam-packed with all kind of beautiful transcriptions for all the drummers in the world to find out what I'm playing and play along with us. And lovely stories of the making of these records and what I was feeling. For example, for Mahavishnu Orchestra, the last album for us was called Inner Worlds. I composed a song called The Way of the Pilgrim, and John McLaughlin, mighty Mahavishnu, plays a beautiful solo with Ralph Armstrong on the bass and on keyboard Stu Goldberg. Recorded at the Hunky Chateau in France, the same studio where Elton John made the Hunky Chateau album. And we lived there for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks making this album. And to record this song with him meant so much to me because he gave me a book called The Way of the Pilgrim about a Tibetan monk. And as I was reading the book, I was inspired to write this beautiful song on the Fender Rhodes piano that John had given me. And I want you to listen to this song because a lot of you may not even know it. And listen to the great soaring solo that John plays. And here is the drum transcription of that song. And the foreword of the book is written by the mighty Billy Cobham himself. When I saw Billy Cobham play with the Mahavishnu Orchestra in Hartford, Connecticut, mind-blowing to this day. Here he is, writing a foreword about me in this book. My guru told me, he said, do not compete with Billy Cobham. He said, just compete with yourself. And that was the best advice I ever received. Because there are certain individuals in this world who are so mighty, you will never touch it. But what you can do is touch your own mightiness. And so to all kids out there, believe in yourself as you do and be the best you. Because oranges are not bananas, bananas are not apples, apples are not peaches, blueberries are not strawberries. We need all the fruits to have a fruit cocktail. We need all the fruits and all the vegetables to enjoy the beauty that God's given us. We need all the animals. A giraffe ain't trying to be a gorilla, and a gorilla ain't trying to be a rhinoceros. We need everybody to do what you do. So, read my book, learn what you can from it, and do what you do. Make your books for the future. But just know at this time I'm extremely proud of Aubrey for helping me do this. I'm extremely proud for Hudson Publishing. And by the way, Hudson Publishing works with Steve Gadd, works with Billy Cobham, works with all these great drummers. Steve Smith from Journey, who's magnificent. I'm just so chuffed in my life to have such love. Like, for example, I turned to a page here called Cannonball. And while I'm here, let me just speak about this. This is after Mahavishnu Orchestra. I did an album with Weather Report. I'm very happy to be on a song with Chester Thompson, who I'm going to be interviewing soon. The great drummer Chester Thompson from Weather Report and Genesis with Phil Collins. He plays on Black Market, and so do I. And I'm so happy to be on a song with him. Well, Joe Zawinul, the great composer and keyboard player from Weather Report with Wayne Shorter, asked me about joining the band. And I said, well, I can't really join the band because I'm excited right now to play with Tommy Bolin in the rock world, because he was a hot new rock guitarist from Billy Cobham's Spectrum album, who's just tearing it up. And we made a solo album where I played marching powder, recorded at Electric Ladyland Studios, and it was killer. So I kind of committed to going out with Tommy in the more rock field. But in being with Weatherport on Cannonball, we flew in Jaco Pastorius, the great bass player, to audition. And on this song, it's for Julian Cannonball Adderley, who Joe Zawinul had written Mercy, Mercy Me back in the 60s. See, Joe's been around and had been a genius for many, many years. So then he decided to write a song for his partner Cannonball. He said it's either going to be called Empty Chair or Cannonball. So he starts teaching me the song. I record the song on a cassette because it's got lots of parts. I go in the hallway to start learning the song. Then we fly him in from Miami into LA studio, Jaco Pastorius, the young Jaco, to learn the song. And Joe's teaching him the song. Now Joe and Jaco are brand new together. So then Jaco starts adding all his parts that he wants to add to the song. And then Joe stops immediately and says, "Don't play that shit on my song." Now that was like electricity current in the studio, because now Jaco's like, he came into audition, but now the great leader's saying, "Don't play that." So it forced Jaco to settle down, learn the song, respect the song, and just play what's right for the song. And that's how Joe melted Jaco into becoming the Jaco that you now know around the world. We all say Jaco Pastorius, one of the greatest bass players, is true. And Joe and Wayne and Weatherport helped transform him into being a genius that we all know and love. So listen to this recording. Cannonball is just Joe Zawinul, Wayne Shorter, live with Jaco and myself on drums, and Alex Acuna, the great percussionist and drummer, with us, the five of us, on this live song, Cannonball. And here are the drumming parts for anyone interested to kind of check it out and play along. I know there's a lot of you out there who are great drummers who can read this stuff. Privately, can I read this back and play like that? No. I can invent it, but I can't read all that back and play it for you. But you can. You can. Because you got this hot new book. And also, on the back, there are pieces written by the mighty Mahavishnu, where he talks about working with me. Ralph Armstrong, who was 17 years old, playing bass, he's talking in here. Steve Smith gives a long, paragraphs of how our recording of Visions of the Emerald Beyond helped inspire him and other drummers when they were at Berklee School of Music. And also Gail Moran, the great singer and piano player with Mahavishnu Orchestra, speaks about our time together. So it's just chock full of inspiration. Coming through is Vinnie Colaiuta right now. I'm so impressed by Vinnie Colaiuta's playing. I think all drummers right now are impressed by how clean, soulful, passionate Vinnie Colaiuta is. He speaks in here at length. Steve Gadd, who we adore. We all know how great of a genius he is, but I must tell you privately, the two things that knocked me out the most about Gadd, his humility. Oh my God. You think he's so great you can't talk to him, but it's the opposite. He's very approachable, very loving. And when I heard him play a ballad called The Closer I Get to You by Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway on the album Blue Lights in the Basement, his timing is so beautiful. No rushing, no anxiety for the whole record. It's a deep R&B groove that just lays it. That's the magic of Gadd. As well as with Chick Corea, going crazy in all the Spanish, Latin music, and all the fills he wants to play with Anthony Jackson on bass, completely ruling it. As well as when you hear him on Asia with Steely Dan. As well as his own band, where he's going crazy playing live now and doing everything he wants. As well as when he's working live with Eric Clapton and doing whatever he wants to do with laying down the rock. So Gadd's in this book talking about working with me or being inspired by me. I'm just so taken. All my friends around the world are participating. So anyway, on this day, here I am in Tarp Band Studios, making my podcast, And I just want to say, I'm happy to be alive. There was a choice I made in my life. Back when I was coming up in the 60s, you could die real easy. We were all like messing around, smoking our joints, taking LSD, be passed around elephant tranquilizer in a form of a joint, but it wouldn't be a joint, it'd be elephant tranquilizer. Next thing you know, you're dying. And I remember a beautiful blonde girl stroking my head, trying to keep me conscious, so I wouldn't die. And then I hear the leader of the band saying, I'm gonna kill that nigger, I'm gonna kill him, see? And they had to rush me out of there because it'd be audition for the Rolling Stones manager. But the drug they passed around would almost kill you. So I had to make a decision. Do I want to live? I wanted to live. I don't want to die. My hero at the time was Jimi Hendrix. When he died, my last year of high school, 1970 in September, it was all of us like taking a raw knife and sticking it in your heart. We barely have taken it out. Just recently I saw Joe Satriani and Steve Vai saying, what's the greatest guitar solo of all time? And they said, Machine Gun, live with the Band of Gypsies in New York. That's the greatest guitar solo in their estimation. But that's how powerful Hendrix was. So when he died, it was huge for all of us. And I made a decision. When I met Mahavishnu John McLaughlin, and his way of living was through meditation and loving God and letting God be the drug, I found the answer. Let God be the drug. Let your spirit be the drug. Let positivity be the drug. Let the joy of life be the drug. Let nature be the drug. Let what's inside you naturally, that God put together, be the drug. And actually open your heart consciously. Open your spirit consciously. Ask God to come through in your playing. Ask God to bless you as you're playing. Ask God to use you as an instrument when you're playing. That world saved me. And not only saved me, opened doors that other people wanted to work with me that I never thought would have happened. Look, I worked with the greatest singers and people of all time. I think, not just because I'm a nice person, but because I think I opened my heart to God, the Spirit of God to come through me, to channel me. Others wanted us to be around it because it's such a positive force. Next thing I know, we're doing Aretha Franklin, we're doing new Mariah Careys, we're doing Whitney Houston, we're doing Gladys Knights, we're doing all kinds of folks. We're doing more work with Jeff Beck, we're doing more work with everybody. Carlos Santana, Journey's in here, they're all in here because of the buzz of being alive and having the God feeling come through. So, what am I saying to you? Enjoy your life. There's no pressure. Life is a gift. I know a lot of folks are very sad at times. We're all sad at times. And some of us are suicidal. Like I'm American Indian. I'm African American, American Indian, Cherokee, Potawatomi, and European, white, all mixed together. I know a lot of the Indian brothers who were here in the Americas first are suffering with suicides. Too much drinking, can't handle the alcohol, can't handle the sadness of their lives. I know Carlos Santana wanted to have a hotline for suicide. That's how important it is to stay alive. I know we also have epidemic going around of fentanyl and all that, taking people's lives. We want to say, slow down. Breathe deep. Because life is a treasure. We don't want to get out of here so fast. We don't want to be a gang member and just kill people because we have nothing to live for. No, we have lots to live for. We have lots to live for. So, just take a minute and think about what you can be happy about. If it's looking at a flower, if it's looking at a candle flame, if it's hearing your favorite song, if it's thinking about someone you love, someone you might miss, someone's touch, someone's kiss, someone's eyes, something that can inspire you about being alive. That inspiration can write a beautiful hit song. That inspiration can keep you alive to take another breath, another step. Most recently, I went to Oregon. I was so taken by the beauty of Oregon, the nature of Oregon, just watching horses run, like Bonanza, like Wagon Train, something so simple. I was like, wow. So I encourage you to do anything outside the box to inspire you to stay alive. Stay alive. Be like me. staying alive, staying alive. Oh, 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 staying alive. Bee Gees. What an inspiration again. I've been studying the Bee Gees a lot. How much work they put into cutting those records. Oh my God. Oh my God. Aretha Martin, the great producer, because I was there. I'm in Atlantic Studios making Garden Love Light, I Cry, I Smile, Awakening when Bee Gees were around there. And Aretha Martin would say, if you want to keep things in tune vocally, stop the tape. And whatever rings in the tape, the echo, that's how you can tell if you're sharp or flat. So here they are, stopping tape to make sure everything they recorded was perfectly in tune. And they became masters. Then when they wanted to change the game and get the groove going, Bee Gees working hard to make Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Fever. Working hard to carve the right sounds and making everything fit. And in fact, pioneering a new sound in music. We knew about dance music, but this was a new sound in dance music, a new sophistication in dance music, a new perfection of all the vocals being in tune, all the parts just laying just perfectly right, like a scientist, like a doctor, like a surgeon. Aretha Martin at the helm with Bee Gees and all their team and their LA Criterion team and Tommy Dowd, who was so beautiful. Everybody just being so lovely. So I'm a real lover of history and music. And I want to be here on my podcast to open windows and doors into the love and passion we have for what has paved the way for us to be here today and what we want to keep alive in music. And I want to also say there's a second coming in my heart, in production and in songwriting for the new artists that want to come here to Sharp Band Studios to record. God bless you in your lives. I want to make this podcast have meaning. In riding my bicycle over today, I thought, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about how grateful I am to be alive and have a recording studio. And I know all the people in the world who want to have recording studios, go out and buy their little laptops so they can make music. I encourage all of it. I encourage all of it. Stay alive. Stay encouraged. Make your music. Live your lives. Stay alive. If you love somebody, tell them you love them. And most importantly, tell yourself you love yourself. Jump back, kiss yourself. Like James Brown. We're still discussing this beautiful book. And I'm really overwhelmed, to be honest with you. I'm kind of in a state of shock that I can actually look back and relive these memories. Here's a picture of me, I don't know if you can see that, when I'm barely 21 years old and being picked up by God's grace and the good karma to be in the studio of George Martin in London, London Air Studios. Here I sit in my drum set, recording an album called Apocalypse with the Mahavishnu Orchestra. It's done with the London Symphony in one room, and myself on drums, and John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu, on guitar, Ralph Armstrong on bass, Jean-Luc Ponty on guitar, and Gail Moran on keyboards in another room, separate from the orchestra. And what we have are cameras. A camera on me and a little TV screen where I can see Michael Tilson Thomas conducting the orchestra in another room. And the reason for that was because my drums were so loud, they said, oh no, he can't be mixed in with the orchestra. We got to separate him out. So they moved me across the hall and even baffled me across the hall with baffles in front of me. And then John McLaughlin, I'm looking at him through plastic, a plastic baffle, because my drums are that strong and loud. And Ralph and Jean-Luc and Gail in my room. And it's our job to cut our tracks and merge them live with a living, full-on 100-piece London Symphonic Orchestra across the hall. In time, as we watch the camera and hear them and play our music, which wasn't easy. And the first piece we cut is called Vision is a Naked Sword. It's in 11. And it starts out very, very deep and moody with the strings in 11. And I know this is my chance to come in and make my mark. So I come in playing this devastating drum fill. I thought about it and I put it down. And I want you all to go listen to it. And it's right here, in case you want to see it in writing. The great Aubrey Dale has transcribed it. And I don't know how he does it. You might have to call him and talk to him about that. But note for note, it's written down. And please go back and try to enjoy listening to it and look at this book where you can kind of go, wow. Wow. So I have to say, I'm very, very pleased at this type of thing to happen And in hearing the playback of these songs, I recall going in the control room now and looking at George Martin, the great Beatles producer, and his team would be Jeffrey Emmerich, the great engineer. Very English, very serious, recording all this because it's huge sound, and then their assistant engineers are very serious. They're called T-boys. There'll be maybe 3 or 4 T-boys. They're really assistant engineers, but they're called T-boys because they bring you your biscuits, which are little cookies, they bring you a cup of coffee, or they bring you tea or water. But as they're doing that, what are they doing? They're absorbing and watching those genius sessions come down and taking it all in so they become the next Ken Scotts, the next Dennis Mackays, the next great round of engineers. And I can see that because they're so attentive as they're watching and they're taking their notes on everything. And then I get a chance to get close to George Martin, the Beatles producer, to find out about him. And what is he? He's very patient, soft-spoken, says very little, encourages you. And in fact, at one point I said, George, I love the sound of Ringo, in particular when you phase his cymbals. Would you phase my cymbals? He said, no, I won't phase your cymbals. I've already done that. I'm not doing that again. I was like, okay. So I learned there are boundaries, the things that he would do, things he would not do. But in hearing the playback of what we had cut of this beautiful song, it was so phenomenal, the sound. And Mike Gibbs, in hearing the playback, would be like a little girl. He'd be like this. Oh, the sound. Oh, oh. And you look at him doing this, and then you hear the sound, and then you want to become a little girl too. You go, oh, he's right. The sound is so beautiful. And then there's Vishnu being very intent. There's George Martin intent. There's Ralph Armstrong, all of us very intent. I gotta tell you, man, real history coming down. So, again, here I'm preaching about the book, but it's all in here. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. So here's more. Let me jump to something else for you now. Because this is a long one. I mean, it's pages and pages and pages on the same song. I've gone 10 pages deep. I've gone 10 pages deep on Visions of the Naked Sword. Then it breaks it down into like the elements of it. Incredible. Talking about the fills, talking about how we felt in making it. Talking about examples of the groove, and now 11. Not 4/4, guys. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Boom. And Vishnu taught us, feel the form, feel the shape of time. Don't just have to count it. Feel the shape of 11. You know? And it is true, over time, you start feeling the shape of it. Whatever time, it could be 9, 13, of course, 5, 7s. They begin to take on shapes. But in this case, it's 11. So, check it out. Here's someone you may not even know, but she's genius. This is Gail Moran. She's a wonderful keyboard player and singer. Why this is important, she speaks at length about the making of this album, Apocalypse, and in particular one song, which I'm very happy to say I was there. And I learned a great production trick from George Martin. There's a song called Smile of the Beyond. And Smile of the Beyond is a song composed by Mahavishnu, and his wife at the time was Mahalakshmi. And Guru may have also contributed to some of the poem. But in the making of the song, it's very, very beautiful. It starts with a long romantic piece, and then she sings, and then it gets into like time. We play like a Sly Stone groove in the middle of it, and just get happy with the feeling of the smile of the beyond, which is God, and then comes back to being very romantic again. So George Martin, who's so genius, the Beatles producer, says to Gail, I want you to go into the vocal booth and try on these headphones and just sing the song through so we can understand the dynamic of the song. This is, of course, after we had cut it. And she goes, okay. I gotta go along with her and sit on the floor in the booth because I want to just be there for her because we're really close friends. And she sings her heart out, just just to make sure the test is what George wants. She sings so beautiful. And we come back in the control room where George Martin is, and he says, "That's it." And she goes, "That's it?" He goes, "Yes, that's exactly it. That's the record." I go like, wow. This guy, he's all knowing. He purposely had her go for a test to take the pressure off her because the pressure was enormous. And that's how it happened. She felt no pressure, just sang it. And that's what he wanted. That kind of atmosphere of peace, beauty, not stressed, not tense, but just singing the song. And that's just exactly what he got. And when you hear the record, that's what it is. It's one take. It's one take. That was it. She killed it. And he knew it. So I learned that kind of thing from George Martin, to be open to letting the spirit take charge. And to this day, I must tell you that in George Martin's book, he'll say he loves his work with Beatles, of course. So much mighty work with Beatles. But right next to it, one of his favorite pieces of work that he's worked on is this album Apocalypse, because he said it gives him chills. And I watched him, how he put it together, with just the love and spirit guide. Thank you, Gail, for your love, for your energy, and your writing in this book. I'm going to show one more picture here, because Gail Moran then went on to marry Chick Corea. They fell in love. The mighty Chick Corea, who I might also add, I'm very proud to have worked with and met many times, but I actually played hand claps. I hand clap on My Spanish Heart with Chick. If you ever listen to My Spanish Heart and you hear the hand clapping, that's your bro over here. I was so happy to be in Jimi Hendrix's studio, hand clapping with Chick Corea. Of course, we all love Chick Corea with Return to Forever, with Lenny White, Stanley Clarke, Bill Connor on guitar as he started out. Those magical, magical records. Well, then he got with Gail, and they fused together and became a very happy couple. And I saw them most recently when I was touring with Jeff Beck, toward the end of Chick's life. We played a great show in Florida. And backstage came Gail and Chick, and they were congratulating Jeff, Jason Rubello, Rhonda Smith on bass, and myself. And then Chick said to me, "You were like a king tonight. You were up on that throne. You were a king." And to have Chick Corea call me a king was it. I love that great man calling me a king, because even Gab will tell you that Chick Corea, when you watch him play drums, is life-changing. Gab said he learned how to play drums through watching Chick Corea. So I was just taken back by his compliment. And here they are together, I gotta tell you. We want to really give a lot of love to Gail Moran. Gail, thank you for all the love and being with us, and showing us the way, and being the angel of light. You truly are the angel of light. Yeah. Now I want to get into our second album in my journey with Mahavishnu Orchestra. And this album is called Visions of the Emerald Beyond. And why this album is important to me at this time to speak about. After making the first album of our reincarnation of Apocalypse, became touring across America. And when I say touring, not just any old type of touring. I'm talking about playing nightly 3.5 hours of fusion, high intensity music, where the drum solo wouldn't even come until the third hour. And Mahavishnu would come back behind me with sleigh bells and shake the sleigh bells during my drum solo. And I could hear the bells. And he might even hit the gong too, but the bells I could hear. And he would say to me, "Joy the Supreme, Michael. Joy the Supreme." I could hear it, ching, 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 ching. Ching, 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 ching. Joy the Supreme, Michael. I wasn't Narada yet, I was Michael. Joy the Supreme, Michael. And it would give me this surge of energy in the third hour to just play what I would hear. And you know what I would hear? I would hear the funk. I'd hear the funk of Sly and James Brown coming through for the people. After all the fusionary music, in 7, 9, 11, 13, 17 would come 4/4, like Sly, the funk. And out of the funk, John Bonham, Led Zeppelin start coming through. And I take those patterns, those feelings I had on the funk, and improvise, and improvise, and improvise, and get so caught up in improvisation that now I'm out of time. I'm out of time. Purposely out of time. Playing everything that came to me. Raw intensity. As fast, as hard as I wanted to play, it was welcomed. And the people and audience were, come on, go, go, go. And going brought it. And then after I would go, I come back to the funk again. Funk. Here's the funk again, gonna save us. We land on the funk, and the funk felt so good. Now, because I went out of space, I'm smiling. I'm smiling. Because we could all feel the funk. But guess what? It's so good to me, I'm gonna go again. I'm going out of space again. Go again. As fast and as furious and as magnificent as you can feel it. And offer it to God. And let it come through. And that's what my souls felt like. And then after all that was said and done, go back into the head of the song and wrap it up. But we do that nightly across America, nightly across Europe, nightly into Australia. We opened the Opera House, the Sydney Opera House. We were the first band to play in there. I remember the sound of the Opera House was so bright. The cymbals, psh, psh. I'll never get over how bright the building was. And then into New Zealand, the same thing. All these new people in New Zealand, playing for them. They had great music, and they were spiritually hungry. They wanted to know about meditation. It wasn't just the music. They want to know, well, what's behind all this? What are you talking about? What is all this God talk? What is meditation? What is prayer? What is all this? And then you play a show, and the next morning, you'd host a meditation where you could go with Mahavishnu and those that wanted to come along, talk about meditation and what it was doing for your life, how it was keeping you alive, how it was inspiring you to play that many shows, that many nights of the week and stay excited. So I have very fond memories of this time in my life. And why am I saying all this? I'm saying it to say this. All that energy from America touring, Europe touring, Australia and New Zealand touring came into this album. Now I feel like a tiger energy. Now I'm not scared little boy anymore. Now I've kind of grown into having confidence playing nightly with Mahavishnu, Jean-Luc Ponty, Ralph Armstrong, Gail Moran, the string section, the horn section would join us. My brother Bob Knapp would join us on trumpet. So it was quite a strong group. So in making this record, now I got to talk about this. Now Vishnu calls me because we've already had a great experience with the Beatles. He says, okay, the second album we're going to do now, this next new album is going to be called Visions of the Emerald Beyond, and we're going to record it at your hero's place, Jimi Hendrix's studio, in the village of New York. Now, we lived in Queens, New York. We were stationed in Queens by Guru's meditation center, where a lot of disciples, and John McLaughlin had a restaurant called Anand Brahma, where you go there for the most delicious vegetarian food. And we would drive daily into New York, Jimi Hendrix's studio, to make this recording. And we'd be in the studio A. And behind the console will be Ken Scott, who made the Beatles' White Album. And this man knew all of the tricks of how he recorded Ringo's drums. Could be with sheets on the drums, pillows, towels, towel on the bass drum, open ringing, going through gain brains to make ding, 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 ding. He was a master of sound. I have in my little disco warehouse over here, John's amp, the Boogie, which I'm going to bring out in a minute and show you the sound, how it came through John's amplifier. The brand new Boogie at the time was the sound. But to be in Jimmy's joint, I set my drums where Mitch Mitchell sat. I set my drums where Buddy Miles sat for the Band of Gypsies. I set my drums right there. And the sound that came through my headphones that Ken Scott dialed in for this album was enormous. I dare to say anyone to this day touched the drum sound from this album right here. And that was back in '75. And this is the album that Steve Smith goes on about, and Vinnie Colaiuta, and those great drummers, because the sound of the drums was so out front. And we go into all that on this record. The people who made it, how we all felt at that time. And Mahavishnu would give me cassettes of him writing the music. And you could hear on a synthesizer, and you could hear a little clock, counting time, whatever it was, against his music that he was composing for those opening pieces. All the different pieces would be like that. And that's how you learn the very basic melody, song structure of the different pieces he wanted to learn. And we'd actually then go and rehearse some of that stuff. So we'd know it when we went to the studio. It wouldn't be like brand new. We had an idea what we were going to be doing. This piece here, Eternity's Breath Part 1, is very awesome to me because it starts, again, with Jean-Luc Ponty and Mahavishnu playing this long raga. And then they get into this theme that they actually worked out with this very intricate piece that's like, I think only he can play. It's so intricate, only he can play it, Mahavishnu and, of course, Jean-Luc. But after they play, it's my turn to come in and make a statement. And God said, just go. So the top of the record, I just go. I just start playing. And it's like, and then Vishnu plays this thing, bong, wait on, sha go 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 ding dong, bong go gang gong, boom go go gang skong go gang gong, boom boom tika dato tika 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 bong, boom bong, boom boom babo doo bong, bang dong, booga paga. That's the theme of the thing. Then we start singing. Let me live thy will, Lord, let me live your will. This beautiful high thought. But the track is mean and nasty as it comes. Mean and nasty as it comes. So much so when we tour with this music, we're now with Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck's got a hot album called Blow by Blow. And Blow by Blow, he's out playing live with Bernard Purdie on drums, Max Middleton on Rhodes and clavinet, and a mean bass player who played on Wired, Wilbur Bascom, chosen, handpicked by Bernard Purdie. So then that band would play, Jeff would play, and then Mahavishnu Orchestra would play. Or it could be vice versa. Mahavishnu Orchestra might play first, and then bring on Jeff Beck. And the audiences would be just enthralled because Jeff was huge with that album, Blow by Blow. And Vishnu's album of Visionary Young, it was coming on. So then we open up with this song called Eternity's Breath, and I could look over and see Jeff like, wow. That's how we got turned on with Jeff. And he wanted that kind of fusionary power too, to the point when I actually joined Jeff Band touring later on, before he passed away a couple years back now, we played this song, Eternity's Breath, because he loved it so much. So I just love that period of my life, touring in '75, this album with Jeff, and then we jammed together. Guess what? We jammed together every show. It'd be Jeff with Bernard, Max, his bass player, our band, Ralph Armstrong, Jean-Luc, Mahavishnu, Gail Moran, me, coming together and rocking together on a piece we work out. And you can see Vishnu and Jeff going back and forth. People, I'm telling you, this is a time that probably will never happen again. These kind of great, great moments of these great cats going at it like that. Going at it so intently. I remember one time in New York at Avery Fisher Hall, it was so intense that when Mahavishnu played, he caught a fire. And his solo was just so like John Coltrane moment where he just couldn't stop. He just kept playing. It was like a fire, a fire, a fire, a fire. And then next I see Jeff just kind of walk off the stage because Vishnu was in a fire. Anyway, what am I saying to you? I'm saying fire. The fire is incredible. To this day, when I talk to Carlos Santana, we talk about burn, bring the fire. The fire is where it's at in music, always. So this is fire, this album. And all the parts are in here. Look at this. Can you read this, children? Can you read this? I hope you can read it. Try to read it, play it, and we're gonna have a contest. Who can play it the best? I will give you copies of this book. I'll do a signed copy of the album, and a cymbal coming from Pi-Stein, maybe some drums coming from DW. I want to give nice contest prizes for my people out there who can be playing this music as a challenge. Here's part 2, as if part 1 was not enough. Here's part 2, scalding, scalding, scalding. To Vishnu goes the credit. that he composed this music. And he was so smart that he mixed in to Mahavishnu Orchestra sound, Hendrix. He mixed into Mahavishnu Orchestra sound, India. He mixed into Mahavishnu Orchestra, New York street. You hear in the music love for all the people. This is what Vishnu is genius at in his writing these beautiful songs. And here we break it down into what's called elements about putting these songs together. Man, I'm overwhelmed. I'm just overwhelmed. Remember I was talking to you about Mahavishnu being behind me, shaking the sleigh bells during my solos in the third hour? Here's a picture of him back there, shaking those bells. And I'm just playing my heart out. I want to say one more thing. On every one of these shows will be the truck driver, Greg DeJoven, and drum tech set my drums up. I want to say tribute to Greg DeJoven, who just passed away. He'd be driving all the trucks. The great roadie set my drums up from every show with me all the time. Greg DeJoven. His spiritual name is Sambhava, means new creation. We love him. We want to give him a lot of love because he was here at all these shows around the world. Even when I went to go do Wired, he'd go with me to do Wired, set my drums up, hear all the playbacks. I go do Weatherport, he'd be with me. At Time Bowling, he'd be with me. All that stuff, set my drums, he was my man. Then he became the manager for us later in my life. But I have to say thanks to Greg for being here on all these shows too. What I want to say in wrapping this book up, there's so much detail, so much mind-blowing detail. Here's a picture right here I'm going to show you. Mahavishnu and George Martin. There's so much in here. Please get it. No, I will autograph copies if you ask me to. And I support you in your lives. God bless you. Love you. Thank you for everything. Thank you so much for listening to our All In podcast. If you enjoy the show, please follow, like, and subscribe on our socials. YouTube, Official Narada Instagram, Official Narada, one word. And All In with Narada Michael Walden on Apple Music, Spotify, and more. Thank you so very much.